Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome to this lesson. In this video, I'm going to show you how to understand the circle of fifths and tell you sort of all the details about it so you sort of know what's up. The circle of fifths is the most important musical tool to help you understand and like compose music. So I'm going to show you that right now. This is the circle of fifths. I don't know what it's like to look at this and not have a clue what it's trying to say, because what it does tell you, I sort of knew that information before I ever seen the circle of fifths. So if you are one of those people looking at this right now thinking what the hell is that, then that's kind of what I'm here for, to explain what's going on. So we're going to start at C. Now all of these notes on here, every like letter that you kind of see, they can represent notes, chords or keys. So you know it's kind of depending on what you're trying to do, like that C could either mean C major, just a C note, or a C major chord. But as I sort of tell you about all the details going through the circle of fifths, I might be talking about keys or notes or whatever. But you know, we'll get to all this. So if we start off by looking at like this C as a C major key, as the C major key, sorry. If you wanted to write all the keys going up in a circle, you know, you could do that. You know, if you wanted to, with your life, you could do that. So you could write a C major. You know, you could write a C there to represent C major. Then it could be C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. But how, like the actual order, the actual sequence in how these keys have been arranged in this case is that they all go up in fifths, which is what the name is about. So if you are in C major and you look at the fifth pitch in C major, that is a G note. And if you then take the G major key, so you write down G and then you write out G major, the fifth like note in that key, that in every major key the fifth note is always a perfect fifth above the root note. So it's the fifth degree, the fifth scale degree in a major key, and it also happens to be a perfect fifth above the root note, and that's what the fifths mean in the circle of fifths. All of these, all the like these major keys, they're all going round in fifths. And what I'm saying is, like if you write out G major and then you go to the fifth note, that's a D. And if you write out D major, you go up to A, which is the fifth pitch in D major. You write out A major, and again, and so on. It's like E is the fifth in that key, and then it's E major, B major, you know, and it goes round. It goes all the way around. Now, why it has been written in this way is because C major has only natural notes in it, so that means no sharps or flats. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now every key needs to have every one of those letters in it, every major key and every minor key. If something isn't a natural note, it's written as a sharp or a flat, depending on how it's spelt out. Now when these keys are written out in this way in fifths, you can see that all these keys go up like sort of in order of their of when the notes start to change into sharps, and then it sort of then goes back round going down, and it shows you it in flats as you go around. Now why this is important is because you can see that in the key of G major there's only one sharp, which is an F sharp, and just so you know, this is like a stave like notation, and like the bottom line represents E. If you've seen like a note head with a stem, like, you know, a stereotypical musical note, all the different types of musical notes, sometimes a dot and a stem, the dot can be hollow or it could just be a fat dot. All they represent is different rhythms. But what actually matters in terms of notes, like, so on like notation, when you see sheet music, what actually tells you what note it is where the musical note is on these lines, or whether it sits in between the lines. The bottom line is an E note, and then the space is an F, and then it goes up to a G, and it just keeps going up. That's why the spaces in between spell face. It's like F-A-C-E, so it's like E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, then F, and also the space above this top line is a G. But in this case, it's saying that because I'm saying that like a F, A, C, E in between the lines, and then above that you've got a sharp here sitting on the F line, right? That means that all the natural notes, they're all natural in G major except the F. So the F is an F sharp. And then if you look at D, like, so now D has two sharps, and you can see that that the C needs to be a C sharp, and also the F needs to be an F sharp. So you can see like what accidentals are in each key as it goes up, and why it's helpful that it's written in this way, like sort of the accidentals like going up, you know, it doesn't just jump from one sharp to a key with like loads of sharps, like 5 sharps like in B major. That's because as I say, like every key needs to have one of every natural note, unless the key needs to have them changed to either sharps or flats. So if there's only one sharp in G major, you know that every other note is a natural note, and every note in C major is a natural note. So that means that you can pretty much like play any chord like in C major, and then just move to like any note and just move to G major, because they pretty much share every note. Sorry, I just said that in C major you can play any chord and then move into G major. As long as they share the same chords, you can then play one chord in one key and then move into another key, because they both share the same chords. So for example, there's a G major in C major, so then you can just start playing in G major. There's also an A minor chord in both keys, C major and G major, so you can be playing that chord and then move to G from C. But for example, in C major, the main B chord, like the triad B chord, the B triad chord, is a B diminished, whereas in G major it's a B minor chord, which do not share the same notes. Like in G major, there's an F sharp in that B minor chord, whereas in C major there isn't. There is no F sharp in C major. So what I'm saying is, you can, as long as the two keys share the same chords, you can use them to move from each key. But if you're using a chord that has the same like letter, so again like B diminished or B minor, you would be able to, but they're not the same type of chord, so you can't. But this is where if you just use singular notes, it's perfectly fine. Like whatever notes are in both keys, you could be playing that note and then move to your next key, such as you're playing a D, and then there's a D in G major, so you can start messing around in G major. If you like go to a key that doesn't share any of the notes, and like you just immediately fall into this key, it sounds very abrupt. You sort of need to kind of merge into this new key. So that's kind of what all this is showing you. Like you can, if you want to change keys or change to well, that's pretty much it. If you want to go to a different key, it's showing you that these ones that are closer to C are a bit more common to the C major key, and most chord progressions I see, like common chord progressions, like in blues, pop or rock, they're always like the first chord, it's like first, fifth and fourth. So if you like are on like the first chord, so in C major C, and then you're playing like a G, that's the fifth, like this is literally saying that the fifth in C major is G, and you're playing a G major chord, so you could literally start just playing in the key of G major. You are pretty much either when you start playing a G major chord, the fifth chord in C, you are pretty much, depending on how you want to sort of label what you're doing, you could then say, I'm now in G major, or I'm in C major. So you can sort of start moving about. You could literally like because like that G major chord is also in D, because there's no G sharp in here, so in D major, because as I say, like it's an F sharp and a C sharp, so you could go to the fifth in C major and then you could start playing in D. As long as like the keys share the same chords, you can then start to fool your sorry about my accent, but you can fool your listener into thinking that you've moved to a new key. Well, no, you can fool them into thinking you're in the same key, but you've actually moved, and then you can start playing like the chords that are exclusive to, say, this key, such as like the F sharp and the C sharp, and then these chords have literally just came out of nowhere. So they'll be like, wow, like this guy's now doing some cool stuff, like this sounds like a welcomed kind of thing. It's new, but it didn't sound abrupt, like you didn't just randomly start playing like a different song, because it's like you've kind of used a bridge to get there, so you're actually there now, you know what I mean? Now I said that there was like progressions that were sort of common in sort of like popular music that are like 1, 5 and 4. Now if you go up from C, you always go up in like fifths. Now if you go down, like if to get to C, sorry, if to get from to get to G from C, you go up 7 notes. Now if you go down 7 notes, that is also a perfect fifth. So if you go down from C, like B, A sharp, A, G sharp, A, F sharp, F, that is also a perfect fifth. So you can also like go like down into different keys and sort of do the same thing as I was saying, like so you can also like move down and get into these keys from like C, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, you always need to start on C and like then work your way around. You could start like down here and then move to this key, because it's saying that pretty much these are the same notes pretty much. There'll only be one note of a difference, like with the key next to it, so you can just start moving about. And also like down here you'll see that like G flat like major and F sharp major, they're the same key. Like you'll find like when you sort of come round like the flat side, you end up on G flat, and when you come round on the sharp side you end up on F sharp, which happen to be the same. So on this diagram it sort of they sort of meet, and then it's also, it just happens to tell you here that like D flat major is the same as C sharp. It depends how you write it, because as I was saying before, like every key has to be written so there is a letter of C, D, E, F, G, A, B, not necessarily in that order, but those letters need to either be there as like a natural or a sharp or a flat. So either you need, so in every major or minor key, for example, there needs to be, when you write it out, an A sharp or an A flat. So, you know, you can't miss one. So depending on, like, that's why like some keys need to be written with flats, because they can only be written in that way by doing that, and I can kind of explain that a bit more in like the comments or something. But that's why like if you write out C sharp major, it has to be written out like this, and if you want to write out D flat major, it has to be written out with flats instead. But in actual fact, if you convert these flats to sharps, they're the same notes as this. So you can get some keys that are just like the same as others, hence why like here you've got these two, and it's basically saying, yeah, these are the same key and that's like the same key. But what I was saying before was, like, if you go like up from C, like up a fifth, you end up at G, and then you end up at D. Like if you go up a fifth from G, you end up at D. If you go down a fifth, so if you go up 7 notes from C, you end up at G. If you go down 7 notes from C, you end up at F. If you go down 7 notes from F, you end up at B flat, right? But if you do this trick where the way to view this, it's like you're doing things counterclockwise. What you do is, if you go up to F from C, so not down. If you go this way, you're going up from C, a perfect fifth. If you go this way, you're going down from C, a perfect fifth. But if you go this way, so counterclockwise, but you go up from C, it's like, so if you're playing up from C, you actually start going up in perfect fourth. So if you go up from an F to a B flat, that's a perfect fourth, which is 5 notes instead of 7. 7 notes up from a note is a perfect fifth. But here, if you go up from C to an F, that's a perfect fourth. And as I was saying before, like most, I've brought this up 3 times, but I've finally got to the sort of conclusion. These pop progressions, like the 1 5 4 1 4 5 4 1 whatever, if you play like a 1 chord, like so say C, and then you go up to F, that is also an acceptable move to move into the next key, because you can also go up in fourths. Because remember how I was saying these can represent chords as well as keys? So in this case, you can look at this as chords. You have like your 1 chord in C major. F is the 4th, perfect 4th above it. It is the 4th scale degree. And then you can start moving into different keys from the 4th scale degree instead of the 5th. Like, because that's possible, it means that this method is also accepted in terms of changing keys. Like, you can either go to like your 5th chord, then change key, or you can go to your 4th chord and change key. And like I say, a lot of progressions do this anyway, so you're going to be playing these progressions that everyone uses that sound normal, and you can then start moving into different keys based on what I'm saying, essentially. Now the next thing is this inner ring. Right, what this means is, again, you can look at these as notes. I think I said that at the start. Literally every letter on here. This is the relative minor within C. So like in C major, C, D, E, F, G, A. Sorry, the 6th pitch, right, is always in every major key the 6th pitch, right. That if you play like C and then you go to A minor, like the A minor chord, you can then start playing in the key of A minor, and then again, like it goes up, like the minor keys in the same way. Like they'll go up in fifths, they'll go down in fifths, or if you go up in this direction, they will go up in fourths. So you can like literally start moving around in minor keys. You can move around the major keys and then move into minor keys and then move back into major keys. Like you can then move from like G minor into E flat major, because like G minor contains the same notes as B flat major, because it's just its relative minor. They both contain the same notes. and this key pretty much shares the same notes as this, so you can start going from this random key essentially to this key. It's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm sure in practice it might be a bit complicated, but if you want to do something specific, like leave me a comment and I'll sort of tell you how you can do it. Now that's everything. Like for me, the way I kind of see it is it shows you the fact that it shows you what accidentals are in each key in a nice order. So I knew that, oh yeah, there's only one sharp in G major, there's then two in D major, and it tells you which ones they are as well. So I thought that was really helpful, and it tells you which relative minor is with what. And I like to write all my songs in different keys, like each song in a different key, so they all sound different. So sometimes, like, I'll look at the circle of fifths to see easily which keys I've written in before, and then you can then sort of pick out, like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about like B major, like, oh yeah, like its relative minor is G sharp. Have I tried G sharp? No, I haven't. Like, you know, that could be an idea. Now with guitar, I know a lot of my subscribers are guitarists, pretty much all of them. Like, it really helps, especially with classical guitar. This is a specific example for classical guitar because this is me talking about something from my experience, but it also helps with electric as well. It helps people when writing for guitar to utilize open strings. Now if you're in standard tuning, so it's like E, B, G, D, A, like those are the notes, those are the open strings. Now if you're playing in like F sharp major, you know that all of these are sharps, and I'm not even going to look at that, like actually figure out which ones they are. But I can tell you right now that I'm like 95% certain none of those are the notes of the open strings in standard tuning. So that means every note you want to play, you have to fret it, because there's no open strings in that key for like E standard on guitar. Now for classical guitar, this is where that's really a problem, because that means you can't get much texture. Texture means like the amount of stuff that's going on in your music. If you have like 30 instruments playing at once, you have thick texture. If you just have one note at a time and that's all that's going on, you have a very thin texture. So when you're writing for like classical guitar and it's just classical guitar in the song, a lot of the time, or sometimes, you want to have a lot of things happening at once. But if you have no open strings to utilize, that means you have to fret everything, and not only is that hard to do, but it's hard to come up with good material. Because I've found that if, say, you write in A minor and you have all the open strings, because all the open strings in E standard are natural notes, so that is pretty much all the notes that's in this key. And it's so easy, like you literally just accidentally knock into a string, you just accidentally make a string vibrate and it sounds good because it's in key. Like, it's so much easier to come up with material when you can use open strings. So when you look at this, you can see like, that's going to be an easy key, that's going to be an easy key, that's going to be easy. Or that might be a bit difficult. Oh, wait a minute, like which notes is it? Like you'll have a look. Yeah, it's a bit blurry for me, but like D sharp, G sharp, C sharp, and F sharp. So that means like you can play like a B open, an A open, I think. I don't know if I said A, I don't think I did. But that's what I mean. So you can sort of look at this and go, right, I don't like the look of those keys because there's no open strings. They're going to be like a ball ache to play. So you can look at it, and with the first thing I said, you can see which keys you've done before and try and come to a compromise where it's like, I haven't done like this key, but I don't like the fact there's not many open strings. So you can have a good think about which key you want to use, whether you've used it before, so you can sound different. Well, that's a good first step at trying to make your next song sound different, write in a different key. But then you've got to ask yourself, like, am I really going to be able to come up with like some grand material when I can only play like 2 or 3 notes at a time. So this is mainly for like a acoustic guitar and stuff like that, and classical guitar. But it's the same with metal, man. If you can like palm mute open strings and play other notes, or you can like play like one of these kind of riffs. If I get my strap out the way, yeah, like you know, like a Thunderstruck, like that's open strings as well. Like, so you have to fret everything if there's no open strings. So that's why like you would look at that kind of thing. And the thing is, if you don't know if you don't if you don't know your theory, and you're trying to write in a key, like you just know, you look up a key, you look up like D flat major, and you just find out what notes are in it, and you're trying to like fret those notes, and you haven't got a clue about all the scale positions on your guitar, you're not really going to be able to find much stuff. I mean, if you could have open strings and not really know your scale positions, you can just play your open strings and then maybe discover some other things. So yeah, that's how I like to use the circle of fifths. And going throughout the video, as I've said, I've pretty much shown you the details of it, and that's it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I hope this video has been somewhat helpful. Yeah, so thank you very much guys, take care, God bless.